Hey, quants, we're just doing a real quick recap of some of the recent developments I've been doing, and also something just a little bit different than what I typically do. I saw this X post this morning about a guy that had actually lifted himself in a lawn chair to to fly around and shot the balloons with a BB gun to lower himself down. So I just wanted to share that because that totally cracked me up. So you can pause the video here and read it if you want, or go find it yourself. But I thought this was extremely hilarious, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. Totally random though. So next thing I want to get into is just some of the recent updates that I've been making to the daily posts that I do. I think I mentioned this before, but I just wanted to highlight the fact that if there are repeated posts, which of course I mentioned before that I try to avoid that happening, sometimes it does occur. Obviously, if I'm posting news content every single day, or in particular with the Gann lessons and the astrology lessons, there is very likely to be some overlap with those. And I just have this kind of nice marker here that lets you know if it is an overlap and how this differs from the previous one. And you can also just click on this and then it'll take you to the original post with the original Gann lesson in this case, or astrology lesson, and review those lessons and compare them. And again, the goal here is learning, so see if you find anything different there. The next thing that I wanted to mention is that in the posts with the market overview, I now have links that will take you to a TradingView chart to show you the actual values. So the way that this is intended to work is I have specified specific markets that I want it to always capture. Those are basically going to be like the S&P 500 and Bitcoin, gold, oil in this case. And so that's just to get a little bit of breadth across markets as opposed to just focusing on one. And then I also have it capturing other markets that have been getting news information or some hype. And so it tries to capture those as well. And so the point is that you'll have kind of a baseline of markets that you'll be able to review at a high level. Obviously, if you want to go look at the charts, that's the goal. And go see more information. This is just kind of like your 5-minute, hey, what does the market currently look like across the breadth of available assets? Of course, this can be refined. So if you guys find value in that and you have other assets that you think are more valuable, shoot me a comment and I can take a look at that. But I just want to highlight the links here. And I think there's a little bit more breadth here than what used to be there before. I've also added dividend stocks as well. Again, the whole idea here is to add a little bit of value in terms of not just if you're not just trading and you're potentially already past that level where you want to start potentially positioning in stocks just to earn dividends for the yield, specifically for the yield, not necessarily just trying to play a particular market. That is why that is there, to try and capture those and get some ideas, or just develop a sense of which ones are becoming popular there. I will note that some of these have been up here. I've been doing this for a little while now, and so some of these have been there, pretty consistent, sticking up there. So the other thing, planetary aspects, I always found this kind of hard to read and grasp because, as I mentioned before, some of this is stuff that I'm learning. And so with all just quoting the angles and stuff, I found that a little bit challenging. I originally was going to try and implement this in a way that it would chart it out. And so a lot of times you'll see like the circle chart with all that information on it. And I haven't got there yet. I'm not going to necessarily give up on that idea yet, but my first couple of passes on it didn't pan out the way that I wanted to. And so what I did end up doing is having it come out in table format. And I feel like that's just a little bit more consumable. And so that's a little bit easier to digest if you're trying to learn that information. The next one, so I already went over the duplication potential here. And then I think I had already mentioned this one in the past, is the week ahead. So these will link directly to TradingView. It also captures the forecast and the prior data. And so if that data, if you want to go look and see, obviously this is going to capture it how it is today, and it's not going to update as TradingView would or something like that. And so that the point is to not sit here and watch this. The point is to have an idea of, quickly what are the potential market movers or, news factors that might come into play, and then go and look at that on TradingView if you want to see the actual numbers. So just an easy hook into those. And a lot of these, this post comes out fairly early in the morning. So with that said, it's possible that by the time you by the time this goes out, the actual numbers might not be there. But by the time you've read this, if you're reading it via your email, then you might actually find that the actual numbers are there. And so if that's something you're interested in, you just click on it and go straight to the actual numbers and check that out. And so the next thing that I wanted to get into, again, charting related. And before I jump there, I just want to mention, touch on this. What I'm going to jump to is an example. So oftentimes there's these Gann lessons that come in here, and most of them have this ladder example, and most of them tend to be like, pick out a window that you're looking for or find your previous swing, and then you mark up the chart based on Gann methodologies and see how those play out. And as an exercise, what I did was I had my AI agent go and create a layout for me. Of course, I could have done this manually, and when I am doing my own kind of trading and analysis, that's how I will do it. But just for example purposes, I had my AI agent look at I gave it one of the specific examples in this post, and I had it go and create the chart for me, and I had it monitoring that chart. So every time, so taking an example like this, jumping into TradingView where I had this created, I had the AI agent monitoring this, and so anytime it broke one of these signals, it would do a post. To be fair, it actually was posting it. I think I had it set up to go every day. I can't remember if it was every day or every week, but point is, it was anytime it broke a level, it would definitely notify me. And then there was quite a significant amount of time where it was just setting sideways here, and so it was setting sideways at this -1R, and I had set it when it was around this 0R value. And so I think it was around this area here in June. That doesn't actually seem right because it was later July. So it must have been or early July. Spinning forward, earlier July time frame. So yeah, it was around one of these time frames here. And so anyways, point is, based on the past data, it picked out the 0 value from the Gann example, charted these out, and then it noted that we had dropped down below and I have a summary of this coming out. So if you're following me on X at my Quant Alchemy X account, I'm going to do an article and just kind of summarize this information. So there'll be a little bit more detail of the exact example in there, but I just wanted to highlight that it was tracking this and noted that, hey, we'd been floating around this -R1 value. And then I was getting notifications as it kind of this recent break. And so with just going sideways, obviously, eventually it's going to break one way or the other, and we don't know which way that's going to go. But it was just interesting to watch this play out. And I think from a psychological perspective, what I had picked up is that with the market being sideways for so long, you're just sitting there. Potentially, if you had entered a trade at that point, you could have been setting either at this -1R value based on that specific Gann example. And that could be a hard thing to do psychologically. Potentially there's lost opportunity cost. And so in the context of algorithmic trading, often, and not just algorithmic trading, but I would say in systematic trading as well, oftentimes you want to set a time window on how long you're willing to hold a position. Obviously that cuts both ways, because if you were setting in this position for this whole period of time and then you decided to cut it just before it breaks, you would have missed the upside here. Now, again, you don't know if it's going to break up or down just based on this very simplistic example. You're not doing any other analysis here. And so it had a 50-50 chance of going up or down in this just looking at it from this context. And so if it would have went down, it could have been the other side, and then you would have been happy that you cut that trade. So my point about that is just to mention how difficult it can be to set in a position that's just going sideways for that long of a period of time. But I still think if you're just learning the basics of Gann methodology and Gann swing styles trading, this was kind of a fun thing to do and just monitor and see what kind of value the newsletter is actually providing when you're applying Gann lessons. Maybe I'll try and do one like that with the astrological lessons moving forward. So that'll be it for that, and that'll be it for market related stuff as well. Well, almost. Let me jump over this. The next one that I want to mention, this will just be real quick. The Quant Companions out there. I did a little bit of restyling and rebranding on this. The colors and all that are mostly the same. I do need to update some of this to match the new icon. This is just a sign-in page for Clerk, but the main thing that I wanted to mention here is that at the journal page, because this requires APIs, I had noticed there were a few people using this one, and that is totally fine. The concern that I have is just running the free accounts. It's going to hit limits and be unusable for everybody. So at some point, this would end up costing money, and it didn't seem like a lot of people were signed up to the journal specifically. So I went ahead and did what I had originally intended to do, and I put this behind a sign-up form. If people are interested in this and they join the wait list, and I get a large number of individuals who are interested in actually doing that, I will go and get actual market APIs, paid market APIs. So it is backed by actual market APIs as it is, but I will use paid APIs. And then of course I will probably, I don't anticipate being a super expensive thing. So I probably end up charging like $1 or something like that, but just something that's going to cover the API costs for a larger audience to actually use the tool. I realize the downside to this is that people don't actually get to try it out beforehand, and I generally like to do that, but didn't seem like there's a huge interest as it is. And so if it costs you $1 to try it out for a month, and you still don't want to try it out, then I don't feel like you're probably that interested in it anyways. So I just wanted to mention that. All the other tools that don't cost anything because they're just storing data locally and you're uploading data. So for your analytics, the calculator, and proof ladder, which has some like back testing concepts in that to disprove strategies, help you disprove strategies, is still there. And so that's all just the updates on the Quant Companion. And then going to the final thing that I'm going to talk about here is my personal webpage. I don't really talk about this that much, but because I did recently do that update with I might talk about this page in particular, mostly just I think this is super fun. And if you want to go to the ralphanlimited.com domain, then I've been posting the results of the AI testing that I've been doing there, and I reordered this because I expect this to be the main content on this site. I haven't posted any written content for a long time. I probably will do that still in the future if I ever decide that I want to start writing again, because I do think can just be fun sometimes. But point is, I redesigned this a little bit. So you got to enter the lab here. Once you enter the lab, instead I moved this section down because I don't find a ton of value. I noted that before. This pointing as the best void breaker run was absolutely wrong because it's totally broken if you try to load it, but because it was just being graded based on like code quality and all that stuff, it gets a really good score, but then when you actually try to play it, it wasn't working. And so I wanted an objective metrics, and so objectively it has better written code and based on certain things, but based on the metrics that I put into the benchmark, but you can't play it. So it definitely is not the best. And so I moved that down. Really what I would like to do is have people drive this. And so I put a little kind of carousel here. And so you can come to the carousel and you can go ahead and click whichever one of these games you want to play. And then I'm not going to do that because it'll just launch the game right away. Once you play that for a little while, then you have the opportunity to come in and potentially rate one of these games. So if you're looking at, actually, I think that does take you in there. Let me just check. Yeah, that's launching the game right away, which is okay. But if you want to go to the details page for one of these games, I probably change that so it takes you to the details page. It launches you into the game right away. So if you want to just go play the game, have at it. If you want to, maybe I will leave it like that because I think that's kind of the fun thing for people to do. But what I will say is if you do have fun playing the game, you can go to the details page And if you've played the game for more than a minute, you'll have the ability to just rate it yourself. And I think these user-driven results will actually be the more important results, and that would be a much more realistic opinion, or not opinion. I mean, it is actually an opinion in that case, but so it'll be somewhat subjective, but based on the law of large numbers, if we got enough users actually rating this, then I think it would be a very good indication of which models are doing better at that. And so I thought that was kind of a fun thing. So that's going to be it for today. That's going to be it for today. We will catch you on the next one. Peace, quants.